All right, yeah, here we go. BP Zero live and on location out here on the YouTube Lives. Going to be interviewing our guy, Marieo Foster, tonight for Season 8, Episode number 10. He's still on his commute to get home, so he can join us for the show. So we're going to get things started. And hopefully, I guess we're just going to catch him off the rip here, right? He's a busy, very busy man. So I'm happy to be able to have him for the time that we will. So when he gets here, we're just going to kind of ease him in here. We're not just going to start just slinging questions at him right away. He's on his way home, going to get situated at home. Then he's going to let us know when he's ready to get geared up for the podcast. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope you're doing okay. He should be with us here soon. And looking forward to that. Got a couple of things we do need to talk about. Maybe before he gets here, we can go ahead and get those out of the way now. So first things first, everybody's wanting to know, when is the best of 2023 video coming? Couple of spoilers. One, it will be U-Trip only. And two, it'll be on New Year's Eve. And then New Year's Day, we'll be following that up. And we'll have us a little bit of an announcement, you might say. Something that we are going to... It's a big move, but I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a good thing for the channel. I can't give away too much now, just in case something changes between now and then. But time is winding down. But I don't think anything's going to change. So that'll be January 1st. We're going to have that announcement coming. I'm really looking forward to what that's going to bring to the channel and the community and everything else. It's going to be a good thing. I can promise you that. So Matthew says, "What's up? Made it this week. Hey, thanks for joining us." The VP Junkie says, "Marieo is close to you. That's cool. He is one guy that I would really like to get hooked up with and be able to get some swings in with. Do like an in-person interview. Some people I really feel like would be really good at doing interviews in person, and he is one of those people. I've known him for a while now, and just from seeing his presence on YouTube and kind of seeing that side of him, and then personally getting to know him as well. I really enjoy Marieo. I enjoy talking to Marieo. He is one of those people that I could probably just sit and talk to for hours. As a matter of fact, every time we're on the phone together, it's no less than a 40-minute conversation. And, some of that is, might be the fact my guy's a smooth talker. I think he could sell a whole truckload of ice to an Eskimo in under a minute. But that's okay. That's all right. I really enjoy talking to him and visiting with him on the phone. And it would be awesome to be able to get hooked up with him and do that just in person and kind of that thing, and get to see the man in action too. I mean, it's not like he's, when I'm sitting here talking about how cool the guy is and how I want to chat with him. I want to see him hit too. Let's not get that mistaken. Let's see, catch up a little bit of chat here. John says baseball bat reviews. Absolutely not. I can't tell you the last time I swung a baseball bat. Those days are behind me. Nah. I like where your mind's at, though. BP Junkie says played against him for years. He hits well. Yeah, he does hit it well. That'd be a lot of fun. Maybe not so much to try and defend myself from some of the stuff that he hits, but it would at minimum be fun to watch, right? All right. Getting things squared away here. I got my little list of questions here. And be sure and put your questions in the comments on the video here, just in case there is something that maybe you want to see him answer. Some people have already put some pretty interesting stuff on Facebook here. And I do probably enjoy the one question that I always like asking people, probably just because I'm a bat junkie in general, is what was the bat? Here, I'll pull up the exact question just to make sure I don't word any of this wrong. So Brent asks, what was the bat when he started playing? I feel like that's a really good question, because not only we're not trying to date the guy, right? We're not trying to say, oh man, you're old, but he is from an older generation of player, which means that technology was just way different then. It's not like these kids coming into the game today that get to swing these just rocket launcher composite bats. Like, people used to have to earn their hits back in the day, believe it or not. It's kind of a crazy concept, but it's a thing. Oh, BP Junkie. See, I don't know why. So Jason says he is BP Junkie. See, I don't understand why it's doing that. YouTube has been doing that lately. Like, when I get a comment on a video, I get the notification. And for those of you that do delete your comments, like you'll post something and then you'll delete it thinking like, I shouldn't have said that. I still see it. So you might as well just leave it. And a lot of times when I see those, I'll make it a priority to answer them right away because I want you to know that I saw it. But anyway, so it's been showing like the name of the user, whatever it is, when the comment comes through. Like, it'll say Jason Hearn a comment on the video, but then when I pull up the video itself, it gives me some kind of weird name. I don't understand what YouTube's doing there. It'd be great if they would stop that, but you can't have it all, right? So let's see. One thing I did want to do, also while we're here, Matthew says, as long as you put clothes on when it's cold. So I don't understand. Okay, sounds good. Mario's letting us know he just got home. All right. He said he's home, he's zone situated, and he'll let us know when he's ready. I told him the gang's getting some questions ready for him. We got the ones on Facebook here. And be sure and be sure and drop those comments in the chat here. Brent wants me to ask him Riley's elephant joke. If she wasn't in bed, I would have her come in here and ask that joke. She thinks it is the funniest thing ever. So for those that may not know, I do a little bit of like live streaming video game stuff and just like some random videos on my second YouTube channel. It's just like some side stuff. I originally rolled out the podcast on it thinking I wanted the content of the podcast not to be on this channel, but kind of being its own thing. And I changed my mind on that and brought it back here, which is why we're all here now to interview Marieo. And I kind of took that channel and just kind of rolled with it, just do some random content and stuff on it. So we do some live streaming. I can't remember if we were live that night or not. I could go back and clip it if we were. So we're gaming, we're doing our thing, and it's me and my daughter and Brent and maybe one other. I can't remember who was with us. Maybe it was Gabe. And just out of nowhere, I had no clue what she was getting ready to hit us with. She says, "Hey, Dad." I said, "Yeah." And she says, "Where's the best place to find an elephant?" I was like, "Man, I don't know." She goes, "Wherever you left it." I was like, "Oh my God." Tough, real tough. I'm getting punked on by the 7-year-old, but she thought it was the funniest thing ever. There's Q in the chat. What's up, chat? Q is the chat for the second channel. See, Anger No Last Name says, I just got an Empire delivered last week. Old Fart Gang represent. Yeah, man. Dude, I'm telling you, like, it's no joke. It is absolutely no joke. It's kind of a deal. If I told him, I said, if I played senior ball, I said, you might not get this thing back. And he thinks he might not be getting it back anyway. It's been riding in the front seat of my car for the last 2 days. I keep meaning to get off and get over to the UPS store and just life and its whatnots, man. We're going to get it figured out, though. It's all labeled up. It's ready to go. So we just got to get it dropped off to him because I'm sure he's probably wondering, like, am I actually going to get this thing back? So just kind of hanging out, waiting on Marieo. He's very busy tonight, so we're glad to have his time. We're not going to keep him too long. I usually try and keep the podcast to about an hour. And I know that he's on the East Coast as well, so I don't want to keep people up late and inconvenience them with stuff like that. So we'll see what ends up happening with it. But really looking forward to that. Jason says this year's Marieo Foster bat is the best one out. Yeah, absolutely. Not only is it the his best signature model yet, which he has had some good bats, but it's also just a ridiculous senior bat in general. It is really, really good. So that thing was a lot of fun to hit. I'm also digging doing the senior bats a little bit. I don't know. It's not that I'm not going to do any of them next year, but I was kind of hoping to maybe prioritize some more senior bats. Honestly, just for my entertainment. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I feel like it's just me entertaining myself and kind of bringing you guys along for the adventure. It is part of the fun sometimes, but we are going to not necessarily changing gears with anything as far as the direction of the channel next year. I will say I do want to do more just like softball content in general. Maybe not so much that I'm going to stop doing reviews or do less reviews, but I want to try and mix in more just content that pertains to softball in general to the channel. There was stuff like the pitching video. I'm working on getting the cuts ready for it. I've had a couple of different debacles trying to get that second round of the pitching video done and stuff like that. I want to do stuff like that. Got a couple of projects in the garage we're going to work on. That's going to be some decent softball content. Going to do some vlogs and stuff like that. I'm going to try and make my way back out to the field next year in a, I won't say regular tournament setting, but the goal for now would definitely be to get into tournament ball again next year. The unfortunate part of that is the fact that I'll probably have to end up in Kansas City, and it's nothing against the people in Kansas City. I just don't like the drive. I'm not going to lie to you. That's really the only thing. I have a lot of fun with the people from Kansas City when they come here or wherever I end up with those people. So it has nothing to do with the people. It's just the drive itself. It sucks. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I made it for years when I worked with my previous job, but driving to St. Louis is just second nature to me. But I do feel like, and not that the softball scene in St. Louis is bad, but Kansas City is slowly turning into like a mecca for softball, especially at the D&E level. Obviously, there's only like 6 or 7 C teams, which is a ridiculous joke. I'm not going to get into that stuff. But there's plenty of D teams, plenty of E teams. I'm going to try and find my way onto a D team, and that's going to do a couple things for us. That's one, you're going to be able to get us to the field to create some different content. Maybe we'll do like some swing clips and stuff like that. I would really like to get into live broadcasting, like live on the spot broadcasting of softball games. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I don't think it would be too hard to do. It would just be kind of a working out the logistics. And my big thing is making sure I have a strong cellular reception to be able to push that out. Because I would do it just like I do it here at home, where I'm setting up the scoreboard and I got a little bit of, sometimes I'll do like the webcam and stuff like that. In the microphone, I would basically take a mobile setup with me and get it set up at the field and live broadcast a game. So that would be a lot of fun to be able to do stuff like that. I could do vlogs. I could grab clips around the field. The YouTube shorts have been doing really well. Admittedly, not a TikTok guy. I don't like TikTok. I'm not going there. But I'm not a TikTok guy, and I'm not even a YouTube shorts guy. I don't really even watch YouTube shorts. I'll nose around on them every now and again if like something that, jumps out at me or catches my attention as I'm scrolling through my subscription feed. But outside of that, I'm not even big on the shorts. But the shorts do well from a content standpoint. So like that would be the ability to go to the field and be able to create stuff like that. You got your broadcast, your shorts. You could vlog the tournament, the game film from the tournament, going over my swings from the tournament. Maybe finding people to interview at the tournament, which would also be something kind of fun. I really do like this interview thing. Solo podcasting has just about taken its toll on me. I've did it for a long time, and I'm just about burned out. I don't know. I don't know. It's not necessarily like there's not people out there that wouldn't be good for a regular guest on a podcast. At one point, it's been years ago, I did have a regular, you could say co-host guest for the podcast, Will. I don't know if you guys remember Will or not. Will was a great dude, but he kind of stepped away from the game a little bit. And, not going to make that guy come back if he's not, like regular into the game. And I had Gabe for years when the podcast first started, but he has also since stepped away from the game. Doesn't play a whole lot. I'll drag him out to the field maybe once or twice a year. It's about all I can get him out there. And, life has just taken him a different direction. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I wouldn't mind finding like a co-host or, like a regular guest or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. for the podcast, just to keep from having to doing it with myself all the time. But just the interview stuff in general does make it fun. Like I'm already working on setting up another interview. So I think I'm going to try staggering them like every other week, the interviews every other week. So in case there is something that I do want to talk about, leave the maybe a solo session for my soapboxes and things like that, because I do have a soapbox I want to get on, but I can't do it tonight. So it would be an opportunity to leave stuff open for stuff like that. And kind of gives me a chance to, how do I want to put it? Time things right, if you might say. Bob Russell says he's open. Yeah, we can have you back on. I actually need to. I answered your message. Did you text me back? We've been playing phone tag a little bit, and you called me, and I called you back, and then you were busy. You sent me a message, then I messaged you back, and that's a guy. I'm telling you what. You talk about moving and shaking. Bob Russell at Evil Sports is definitely that guy. He's a busy man. So, be glad to have him back on the podcast always. So we can get him on here too and get to telling some stories. I've actually got something I need his help with. Bob, if you give me a time tomorrow, I can call you and see what we can get going. I need to steal your time for probably 15 or 20 minutes sometime here soon for a video call. You guys will see what for. And I think it's going to be a fun video. Just something that's kind of been a hot topic for a while. And we're going to find out why it's a hot topic. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with making, what do you want to call it? The Bob Russell special. No evil bats, nothing like that. No funny business. But he's going to know what we're doing, and he's going to tell me why it is how it is. So yeah, anyway, like I was saying, with the whole Kansas City thing, it would just be an opportunity for a lot more content. And that is a very large market as well. Trying to, how do I want to put this? Trying to, I guess you could say diversify. I don't know. Like I was in the St. Louis area doing the thing there for a little while, and I'd like to go to the Kansas City area and do some stuff there, just to try and get the brand a little bit of both places. And who knows, maybe I'll kick back and forth going between St. Louis and Kansas City next year. That's really all we have, and both of those are, any tournament there is 2.5 hours from me, which is tough. It's tough to ride in the car for that long one way just to go play softball. There's people that do it all the time, and that's cool. I used to have all that time in the world, but now I don't. So it kind of makes it hard. But for what I have planned for 2024 for the announcement that we had, we will. I think that's going to be a good thing. So Mario's want to know if we can give him a quick test call here. So I am going to give me. Yeah, guys, know the audio's out. I'm trying to get going with him here. Give me just a second, guys.
sound just too low? Is that? I will not. I will not do anything so we don't lose whatever it is.
All right, there we go. All right, so we're here with the one and only Marieo Foster. Thanks for joining us. Oh man, is it gonna do it again?
Who's the sound again?
Yeah, yeah. And I can hear you. So I can hear you. I can hear you when you get close. Oh,
Great
let
sound.
let me. I'm trying to think. What does it take to get into Zoom? You said you use Zoom. Let me.
You're having trouble still hearing me, right?
Yes, I am. We will figure this out. I promise.
We're going to figure it all out.
Hey, you got a great backdrop now. Anyway,
Yeah.
how are you doing that?
I don't know. I'm just clicking this.
Hey, I'm here for that.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm used to being on.
Let me. I'm scrambling to set up a Zoom account here, so we can try and get something going here. We've never had. Let's see, 48102. I've never had this let me down before. Never had Messenger let me down before, but leave it to the one time we really need it. Oh no. Oh. So we will get it done. Let's go. Okay. No thanks. All right. Now I can host with video on. Okay, we're just going to zip through this here. Hopefully we can get it figured out. If you can you text me what I need to get to you in Zoom? Yes. So the chat's going to be impressed with our our tech on the fly here. I just know it. Open Zoom meetings. Connecting. Join computer audio. Okay. I want to use that one. I don't want to share my screen.
I'm going to disconnect this off my computer, and I'm going to try to call.
Okay, I heard you say something about disconnecting. We'll go with that.
I'm going to disconnect.
Okay. Guys, really sorry. I knew this would happen. The one time we need something to come in clutch for it just doesn't want to. That's how stuff always works. Oh, here we go. Hello.
Hey, can you hear me at all?
Oh man, yeah, let's go.
So I'm doing it from my phone. So bear with me here.
No,
because
yeah.
it doesn't have the greatest picture quality. So let's see what happens here if we do this way.
Yeah, dude, hey, this is working. We can hear everything now, that's for sure. All right, so I can take that.
I aim to please, my friend. I aim to please.
Hey, you're doing great. You're doing great, pal. We are glad to have you. Now that we got all that squared away, we can do all the formals, right? So thanks for joining us, Marieo Foster, Agent 23, from the squad there at Easton. So real quick, I do want to say thanks for your time. I know you were really busy tonight, and you took time out of your day to make sure that we were going to have time for you. I know it's kind of a little bit late for you on the East Coast. I don't know how much of a night owl you are. I know some of us are, some of us aren't. But we're glad to have you.
Yeah, but listen, I thank you for having me. I really appreciate what you do for the game of slow pitch softball and in all the ways that you do contribute. And just being, since I met you a couple of years back, it's been really it's been really a pleasure and blessing to have the conversations we have, to watch you grow the sport in a humble way. And again, what makes it so impressive about you is the fact that, you're not a representative of any particular company. So the buying public can trust in what you say and what you tell them, because it's your honest, unvarnished opinion. And I think that from a consumer standpoint, really, what more can you ask for?
Sure, and that's something I've really strived on. I kind of built the channel on. I remember when I started this way back in the day, it was, I want to show people that you don't have to buy the crazy expensive bats, or I want to set the truth, like set the record straight, like what's good and what's bad. And something I feel like that I really appreciate about what you do is you're honest. You'll call it for what it is, And, like when you reached out to me and you told me, hey, look, I understand you might not have had the best run with the last couple of senior Eastons, but I want to send you mine. I think we got something good. And when you're willing to stand behind something, like if it was anybody else, I would be kind of like, yeah, okay, of course you're going to say your bat's good. But it was the fact that you reached out and you were willing to stand behind it. And you just said, I want to know what you think. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't nothing. So I immediately told myself, like, all right, this guy's on to something here. And sure enough, you guys knocked it out of the park.
Well, I appreciate that. And it is, I would be untruthful if I didn't tell you, it can be a nerve-wracking thing to go to someone that is going to be 100% honest. You and some of the other folks that do this, Big Chef and others, Dave Lasquez, these are guys, you all are folks who you clearly will give an honest opinion. And, once upon a time, I used to do a lot of, I used to do the reviews when I was signed with Mike, and I would, take all the different bats out and go to a ball field and hit stuff. And I honestly was giving my true and honest feedback. But as I started to think about it more and more, I feel that the consuming public, when they see me, they don't expect me to be overly critical of a company I'm affiliated with. And that would be reasonable to think that. And so I've never been one to just act like everything that I pick up is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And so I felt that what could potentially set me apart was to solicit the honest feedback from folks like yourself, who very well could come back and tell me, hey man, sorry, it's awful. It's terrible. And, and the reality was, I knew that. I knew going into it, because I think it's good doesn't mean someone else's honest opinion will say the same. So part of it is a little scary, but at the same time, I'm willing to if I believe in it, I'm willing to stand on it and give it to folks like you, who I know will tell the truth, even if that truth is hard to hear.
Sure. And it's when I told my friend Brian, who had BP'd with us and swung those other bats, he's like, man, he's like, I don't want to do it another way. I was like, listen, It's like this guy wouldn't steer me wrong. And we were about halfway through our first round of 52s, and he looks at me and he goes, "He wasn't lying." I was like, "No, I don't think he was." So it was a blast to swing. Now you've had your senior bat here. You had this one. You had the one last year, and then you had the U-Trip vet as well. Correct? With the
So the way it's gone is the first signature bat I had with Easton was a vet that I shared with Travis Clark,
Okay, yeah.
Rismondo Travis Clark. And that was the one that I was fortunate enough to have a lot of visual creative input in. That's the one that's red, white, and blue, has the Arlington National Cemetery grave markers on it with the gold stars for the Gold Star families and so forth. And then that next year, they put my name on the vet by itself. I was very, very fortunate and thankful that they saw fit to bless me in that way. That was the olive drab green one.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And then I think there was like maybe a year or two where there was nothing. And then I really had a good conversation with Brett Helmer, whom I just hold in the highest regards, about, being more prevalent on the senior side of things for Easton. And that's when the red, white, and blue One Piece Easton, that's when I became somewhat associated with the One Piece bat. And that was the first one. And that was the first Empire signature one. And then after that was the one from this year, which is that maroon one. Okay. And then the 2024 is the green one that I sent you to give me your feedback on.
Yeah, it's riding around the front seat of my car. I haven't turned the heat on all week. It's been keeping it warm.
I honestly, it's one of the things that I also really take seriously is sending you something in the wrapper. I know that folks didn't get a chance to see you unwrap it, but at the same time, if that was something you or someone in your position decides to incorporate, I think it's important, right? Because if I send you a bat that's been hit a lot, while that doesn't diminish the fact that the bat may be good, you can't honestly say, listen, this bat has no swings on it until the video I'm producing for you now.
Sure. Which
in that case, that's why it meant a lot to me to send you an unvarnished new in the wrapper bat so that you could tell me what it was like from beginning to whatever point you felt that it demonstrated itself to be a quality piece of equipment.
Sure. And that was kind of frustrating because, like I said, in the video, if you guys have seen the video, I made no, I was full disclaimer. There was wind, blowing at our backs in the video, and we did the video. We actually unwrapped it on video, but just the wind made it, all you could hear was, turbulence. You couldn't hardly hear anything Brian was saying. That's kind of his thing. He likes to unwrap the bats and talk about him as he unwraps them. But I always make it a point to, for that same reason that you're talking about, I always try and test the bats in the wrapper. So that it's like, look, this hasn't been hit. There's no funny business. So the first test of the bat, it's brand new in the wrapper, and I try and keep it that way. Just like you said, for the kind of the transparency side of things a little bit, in terms of like, we started with this new and here's where we're at with it now.
That's right. No, and I appreciate that. Again, when I saw your review of one of the senior bats, and I've never, ever, in all the sort of years of watching your content and giving you're very thoughtful in what you say and what you do. And you've never, advised the purchasing public to just not mess with something.
Yeah, and I know which one you're talking about.
I felt like that spoke to me in that, you know what, I really felt like there was something special about this 2024 model bat, having hit it. And I was like, wait a minute, is this, am I really experiencing what I think I'm experiencing here as I'm now really putting it through its paces? And so then I've taken it out, and I've hit BP with some older senior guys just to put it in their hands, 26 and 27 ounce, and got their feedback from it. And once I started getting sort of universal feedback, I went down to and taught at the instructed at the senior softball camp for Softball the Magazine. Mm-hmm. And that you're talking a wide range of people to expose yourself to when you talk about different age group, different genders, different playing levels. and to put it in everyone's hand and to get that sort of universal feedback, I was like, okay, it is what it is. So now I'm going to reach out to, the man himself, the BP Hero, aka Jesse D, and I'm gonna, and after on the tail end of him really having a very critically, difficult view of one of our senior bats, I said, you know what, I'm going to put this in his hand, and I believe in it, and now, and I knew it was the right time, because you would have your guard really, really up.
Oh yeah,
because of that experience, and so I knew it was the right time. I knew it was the right time because you would go in it probably not expecting a lot, if anything at all. So if it really performed, it would catch your attention.
Yeah, and it for sure did. And like that's kind of the other thing that I do appreciate about, like, like I said, I mentioned in the posting I made tonight that we were going to be doing this interview. Like I feel like you are one of the best ambassadors this game has had. And again, like I'm sometimes hesitant to post like critical reviews of stuff, because I do kind of sometimes wonder what's the brand going to think. Like you mentioned it earlier. I usually don't go out and say the things that I said in that video. So part of me was like, you know what? Like, I'm not sure about this, because it's trying to like maintain the status quo, right? Because the last thing I want is a brand or a following jumping on my case. But even with that, you're still willing to try and set the record straight. Is where I feel like a lot of companies or a lot of reps might say, you know what? Forget this guy. Like, we'll find somebody else to swing this bat and say it's good or whatever else. Like the fact that you believed in your product and you believed in us to be honest about it, even after the track record, says a lot. Because I have admired the work you've done is from the ambassador standpoint. I'd like to at some point get there with that. I mean, we've got our presence here and everything, but I feel like the impact you make is a lot bigger than what we do, and we can only hope to get there at some point.
Well, I mean, I think you do a wonderful job, and I appreciate the kind words. And let me say that, I'm fortunate, obviously, you know what I do from a 9 to 5, and to be able to be associated with a game that I love in the way that I've been afforded this opportunity. Brett Helmer and Don Cooper have been incredible to me.
Don is one of the best.
Like family. And I know folks kind of throw these phrases around, family, and calling folks brother and sister a lot, and absolutely, but it's applicable in every way when I tell you that Brett and Coop have been like family. The trust that they put in me to represent something that they spend their lives feeding their families with, to feel that I'm worthy of that association and that opportunity. I owe them as well as myself to represent in the best way that I can. And I'm always trying to do things a little bit different because people occupy certain spaces, right, in slow pitch softball. All of you that do these different bat reviews, you all have different audiences, but at the same time, you have a lot of cross-pollination, right? You have a lot of crossover of different audiences that follow you all, but you all share your perspective and you support each other in that. And in slow pitch softball, there are a lot of players that are associated with different brands, and so I try to just not occupy the same space as maybe others under the same brand and umbrella as me or another umbrella, right? Like, we have a lot of really talented ball players under the Easton Mike and Worth brand that do videos, right? They break down swings. They show you a lot of things. I mean, some great guys and gals out there that are representing those brands, our brands, in an outstanding way. And I just felt like, for me, reaching out to those of you who have these followings that are out here that have trusted followings in the purchasing public, I just felt like maybe that's something that an area I could operate in by reaching out to you all and saying, hey, listen, I believe in this product, but I'd love for you to tell me what you think.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to what Dave Velasquez and his group are going to have to say about the bat, because Dave is another one like yourself. He minces no words, right? He does not. He doesn't. He isn't. He isn't going to sugarcoat anything.
No, I
And
don't
I'm
think that
okay
man's
with
ever.
that, right?
I don't think that man's ever sugarcoated anything in his life.
And you know what? And I'm okay with that. I'll take that because I'm making myself vulnerable in that way because I believe in this product. I believe in what this group stands for. And I got to tell you, like I said, I couldn't be more proud to be associated with this group and the fact that they stand behind someone like me.
Sure.
That's something that matters to me because, in a lot of circles, I could be considered a boring person, just,
Oh,
my
stop
9 to
it.
5 and what I do. I'm not exactly the most, I'm, I'm kind of, I'm kind of boring in that way.
Opinions can differ, and that's fine. Okay, I was telling the guys earlier, if at some point, we've talked about it before, I would like to get together and collaborate. And I told them, I think I could have more fun just like having conversation than we would hitting it. I mean, I want to watch. We do the hitting and do all that stuff, but like the last time we talked on the phone, we started the conversation talking about your bat, and before you know it, we're talking about bowling and how we had our own bowling balls drilled and, and everything
Right.
else. I mean, it's just the conversations go wherever. And I feel like that's a good thing. More brands, I won't, not that they don't, but use like, I guess it just kind of drives home the point of like personable, easy to reach out to, easy to find, and someone's going to respond, when you do stuff like you reach out like that. It's always a good thing. And, while we got you here, one thing I always kind of run through just a handful of questions just to kind of like, figure out what you're about here. I'm not gonna corner you with nothing. Don't, don't think we're going there. But like, what got you into slow pitch softball? What was, going back here, what was the first, like, what got you to the ball field the first time? Did some buddies need some help or did you have family that played the sport?
So I'm from Georgia. I'm a native Georgian, and for anyone who knows me knows that if you follow any of my things social media wise, I'm a University of Georgia guy. It's all over the place. So I'm a Georgia guy. But
Okay.
I got stationed here in the Washington D.C. area in the Army. I was a military police officer here in the Old Guard, the Army's Honor Guard unit up here. I had a stint with the United States Army Drill Team. I also had a small stint with guarding the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. I am not what most tomb guards refer to as a badge holder, but I did reach the point that I was able to actually do what we call a walk and guard a tomb. So that was something that is very memorable to me. But being here, being in the military, it was one of those sort of things where someone had asked me to play softball on base one day. And I come from playing baseball in high school. And so, just generally athletic. Basketball was really my sport for the longest period of time. And I just went out and played it. And, like most people, I think, who transition from baseball to slow pitch softball, the wrong presumption gets made that, oh, it's underhand and it's slow. It's going to be so
Right.
easy. And defense is defense, right? The mechanics of what you do defensively remains the same.
Yeah.
However, I learned real quick because at that time, the arc limit was probably 12 feet, which means it's probably more like 15 feet.
Oh gosh. It's so bad.
So it was difficult. It was difficult to hit, but like most things, right? For me, when I'm challenged by something, I like to get better at it. And I got a taste of a competitive sort of league environment, and soldiers in general tend to be atypical, so we're competitive by nature, and then started playing what we would call civilian leagues out, off base.
Yeah.
And I just became I fell in love with it because I was fortunate enough to get around people that did not represent what some folks refer to as the beer league style softball. Because had I been exposed to that early on, I probably would have walked away from softball because I wouldn't have known that something else existed. But I did get exposed to something more competitive, and as such, I just really pushed to try to see what it was all about, and got indoctrinated into playing tournaments and so forth, and it just kind of kept going for me from there. Being recognized by a brand is an interesting story for me. Denny Crine, who is a wonderful human being. Denny was with Mikan at the time, and he played with the Conference for the Fallen team. Well, there was a major tournament, and at this point, Denny and I, we had We had met one another through social media. Denny was another one of those folks that just, would respond if you reached out to him. And I study stuff. And Denny, me being 6'4", and Denny obviously is taller than that.
Oh,
But I
he's a
was looking at
monster.
his mechanics and leverage, and I just started a conversation with him. So it turned out that the Maryland major that was happening up here, and For the Fallen team had forgotten their BP balls. So Danny reached out and said, "Hey, man, do you happen to have any balls you can bring for my team? We're going to do some BP. And hey, if you want to hang out and whack a few with us, feel free." So I said, "Yeah, sure." And at this point, I'd never met Denny face to face. So, grabbed my huge bag of softballs and rolled out to Maryland, met up with the team, started hitting with them. And then one of the guys had asked a question, well, who you playing with this weekend? I'm like, oh, I'm not playing. Because the last time I had played softball at that point, I played a softball, but military had really taken over my life, and softball was something I couldn't do as frequently as I would have liked.
Sure.
So I just, continued to play recreationally. So after hitting with them, Denny said, "Look, I'm going to give a call back to my guy. His name's Adam Peterson at Mike, and I'm going to tell him about you and expect a phone call." And from there, I had a great conversation with Adam AP, and they brought me onto the Mikan brand, and I spent 3 years with them. I had an opportunity to play AA with Nightmare. We had a really, really a good team that year. It was I played with Ben Dunn and Tommy Melton and Charlie Hinojosa and some other guys, Mike Williams, just a really good group of guys, really talented group of guys. The last year of the men's major at Disney, before everything moved to Vieira, and that's when I had an opportunity to sit down and talk with Brett, and there was an opportunity presented to me by Brett and the Easton Group, and that's been the best decision I've made ever in slow pitch softball, and it's kind of brought us forward to where we are now. And I feel an obligation, when you look at this, the higher level you play, the equipment, the things you get, these companies provide that for us, right? They give that to us.
Sure.
So the everyday player, the e-ballers, the D-ballers, the recreational folks, those are the people who are paying the bills. Those are the ones that are buying this equipment. So we have an obligation to humble ourselves to those folks and to be kind to them, to talk to them, to answer their questions, to go out to the ballpark, with some bats and just hang out, bring some stuff, let them hit it, sit and watch them when you're on an off weekend. Because at the end of the day, slow pitch softball is not, even though there may be some pretty decent compensation that comes from being associated with it, make no mistake, it's not Major League Baseball. It's not NFL contracts. It's not NBA contracts or NHL contracts. This is a niche sport that's driven by the consuming public. And those of us that don't pay for stuff have an obligation to humble ourselves before those who do pay for it, because they make it all possible. So that's kind of my approach.
Sure, and that's a good thing, and that's kind of you talk about being a niche thing. That's a big thing, and it's really interesting to try and grow this following and grow the channel and everything. Like, I know that there is people out there, like you said, but you have to find them. You have to. I myself try to be humble and feel like I'm approachable, because then I feel like that makes people want to come to the channel, see what we're offering for content, and reach out to me and kind of communicate and do that kind of thing. And I feel like that's a big thing. And when you talk about guys like Denny Crine, so it's a long story short, but I ended up in town. They came to St. Louis one year with the Bombers. It was like it was him and Philby and McCraw, and I can't remember who the other one was, but we ended up getting the inside info on where they were going to hit that day when they got to town. And they show up and they're hitting and they're kind of doing their thing. And so I can't remember what led to what. We were just going to sit there and just kind of fanboy and watch them, And I was like, well, hell, I need to go out there and shag. They were running low on softball. So I'll go out there and I start shagging and throwing stuff back in. And, of course, McCraw and Crine are hitting. And I'm backed up on the fence, like praying for my life, because they're out there just clubbing softballs, And we're out there picking stuff up, and they come out, and on the way back in, Denny talked to me almost all the way back in, and asked me, where I was from, what am I doing, this and that, because we were going to the game that night too. We wanted to watch them hits. We were going to go to the Cardinals game that night, so I talked to them guys for a little bit, and then I actually ran into them after they hit. The game had got started. I ran to get something from the concession stand, and I ran into him, and he started talking to me again, chatting me up again. It wasn't just like oh God, there's that guy again. No, he was like, hey, you're here. I was like, yeah, I told you I was coming, and then we got to talking some more. Like, be sociable, be outgoing. It's so good for the brand, you know. That's a big thing for me.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Again, there envy exists everywhere, right? There are folks out there that will say what they want to say. I just try to put myself in a position to where I don't give anybody a reason to be negative toward me and about me. So if you choose that because that's just who you want to be,
Yep.
not because I've done anything to harm anyone or create a need to, as they say, hate. If someone dislikes me or hates on me, it's because they choose to.
They need a hobby. That's really what it dwells down to. But you talk about all these moments and all these people you've met and everything. Like, if you had to narrow down, what would be your biggest moment, biggest slow pitch moment or achievement in the sport?
Well, I don't know that I have a single moment that would be considered the biggest. I think for me, the things that stick out to me the most about it is the fact that, again, I've been given this platform of slow pitch softball, and where so many folks have to come out of their pocket to play this sport and to be associated with it, and they love it, and a lot of times the financial challenges of being a part of it make it difficult for them. That's why obviously you hear people all the time talk about sponsors and thanking them, because it's so important. But for me, I think having this platform and being able to be part of the first coaching staff for the women's futures Team USA team, that was a great experience, a humbling experience. Anytime I get to wear the stripes, the red, white, and blue, that's as a former soldier and a current law enforcement guy, that's a huge thing for me. Being associated with the USA Patriots, formerly the Wounded Warrior Amputee softball team. The bottom line for me is, as much as I enjoy playing, as much as I enjoy all of the accolades that have come with it and continue to come with it, from winning tournaments or rings to home run derbies, there's something about when I'm able to give back. When I'm able, as much as I pray every day that God will bless me and my wife and children with something positive, I'm even more thankful that I'm able to be a blessing to someone or people through this same platform. People reach out to me and ask about equipment, and I connect them with folks who sell bats. I don't sell equipment. I can always point people in the right direction, but it's a great feeling to go somewhere and help someone improve their game and watch them genuinely appreciate it, or to be at a tournament or be at a ballpark and someone walk up to you and say, hey man, I follow you on social media, and I look up to you, or I think you're a great human being, or I have 2 or 3 of my signature bats in my bag, and I give one to someone because they needed it or they wanted it, or a pair of batting gloves, and watch them respond to that as if I just gave them the world. Man, that's so humbling. And again, I can't take that for granted. I refuse to take that for granted. I am humbled by that. That's why for me, it's so important, man, to humble myself before folks, because walking around and strutting and acting like you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, to slow pitch softball. Ultimately, weigh the difference and understand that, character has to matter.
Yep.
Being good to people has to matter. And at the end of the day, again, it's a niche sport that is completely driven off the people who are willing to pay for the products that those of us that get at no cost need to understand. We're obligated to those folks. And another big thing of mine is, again, expanding the women's game. It means a lot to me to be a force for good for the women's game and its expansion.
Yeah, see, the women's game is something that I feel like has really taken off in the last few years. And I mean, there's been times where, like, on the weekends, we will usually turn on a UIII feed here in the house, and it's just on. Like, while we're walking around the house, we'll stop on our way by, just like if you go to the ball field, just stop and kind of see what's going on and that kind of thing. And the women's games will be on sometimes. And, like, I'll catch myself, like, just standing there and watching some of these women's games longer than I do the men's game sometimes. I really do have an appreciation for the women's game. It's not just stand up there and be a monster and nuke a ball somewhere. There's all kinds of finesse that goes into the hitting. The defense is one thing that I really feel like doesn't get talked about enough. You got the defense, you got the placement hitting. We're trying to move runners. We're not just blowing the ball over the fence. It's really fun to watch.
I tell you what, the women's game for me, it's so exciting to watch. It is athleticism, commitment, and pride to excellence in its purest form. When you watch these ladies go out there, the work that they put in, man, if you could come to the softball training camps, the spring training camp, as well as the senior camp, it was always a big thing. Kristen Dowling, CD, and I, we
so
would
awesome.
get sent. We would get sent to the camps together, and we would focus. We would run isolated training sessions, defensive, scrimmage, skills, drills, and hitting, just for the women campers. And man, I just tell you that it is. You can, like you said, I could sit and watch the women's game all day long.
Yeah.
I mean, fast pitch to slow pitch. It is just pure commitment personified when you watch them, and being a part of it from the coaching standpoint and working with them standpoint, man, I tell you, I don't know that I can do it justice in my attempt to describe it in words, but it's special.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch. Kind of one of those things that I feel like starting at the lower level of stuff, in obviously in the women's sport you're going to, even at the top level, but it's the fundamental. It's fundamentally you're playing the game right. You don't, like, the mistakes and the blunders are something you don't see a ton of, just because every opportunity counts even more, especially when you've got to fundamentally play the game. And I feel like that's part of what is fun to watch. I like watching fundamental games, like, when it comes to,
Right.
Basketball. It might not be the most athletic guys out there, but they're doing all the stuff right. When it comes to slow pitch, it might not be the 10 best players in the ballpark, but they all cooperate and they all get together and they play the game right. I feel like that's a big thing with them.
Right. No, I agree. 100% agree.
So talking about bats here, we're gonna do a 2-for-1. One, what is the bat, if you had to swing, like, it's your favorite bat ever, and you can't say this year's. And then what was, like, the bat to have when you first started playing? What was the bat that everybody had in every dugout that nobody could just get enough of?
All right, so let's kind of break that down. In the first part of the question you asked me was now, are we talking baseball or slow pitch softball?
Oh, okay. I'll tell you what. If you want to go baseball, we can go baseball too. Give me the quick baseball, then give me the slow pitch too.
Okay. Well, baseball for me, full stop, was the Easton Black Magic.
Yeah.
And so here's the funny part. And I made a joke with Brett and Don Cooper some years ago, prior to the release of a slow pitch version of Black Magic. I was just kind of joking with them. It's funny, that realization that when you're a black man and you try to make what you think is a lighthearted black joke to people who are not black, and they kind of stare at you, kind of like, am I supposed to laugh, or is that inappropriate? I'm not sure. So I joked with Brett and Coop, and I said, hey man, I grew up playing baseball using the Black Magic. I said, why don't we re-release a slow pitch version of that and make it my back, huh? Call it the Black Magic. I mean, and they looked at me like, what in the world is it?
What do I say to that?
Yeah, right. So anyway, that's the Black Magic baseball bat for me was a one. On the slow pitch side, there are so many I've always been an Easton guy, believe it or not. But I think that was because when I played baseball, I swung an Easton bat. So not knowing a whole lot about slow pitch softball, because if you think about it, you go back some years before some of these sort of independent, slow pitch exclusive companies came about. Like now, there are a lot of companies that are out there, and they make strictly slow pitch bats, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Back then, there were baseball bat companies that made slow pitch bats, right? So I was an Easton guy, so pretty much anything that was Easton. That was my preference in different bats, kind of different ones as they changed from alloy to composite. I kind of transitioned as well, tried other different brands of bats, but always kind of found myself back at that Easton mark. And on the slow pitch side, like most folks, man, I mean, Helmer's name is synonymous with slow pitch softball.
Oh yeah, household.
And pretty much, I felt like I almost had every Helmer that would ever come out. But then there were the other Eastons, the CNT pluses, and there was a Stealth Plus that was like a white shell bat with a sort of a burnt orange taper. And that was when the Thunder Advance balls were still legal in ASA before they had transitioned to that 52 core ball that you see now.
Yeah.
So those were a lot of the bats that I used. The Flex and the Synergy, the gray and red.
Yeah, the Flex and the extended.
Synergy, and then the blue and gray Flex. The different ones like that for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, again, from a full disclosure and an honesty standpoint, the moment that someone puts your name on a bat, in our sport, having your name on a bat is like getting your own shoe in basketball. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a big thing, and for me, once my name got put on a bat, that was my bat. There was no question that that's what I would swing, and that's what I would love and become, familiar with to a point that it was all that mattered.
Sure, it's like a sense of loyalty, you might say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this multi-million-dollar company said, hey, this guy is worth us putting his name on it. Whether you go in a store or online, it's like last year when they put me on the hang tag of the pro model slow pitch gloves.
Yeah.
Those are things I just don't take for granted because it just doesn't happen every day. It just can't be overstated how fortunate I am to have those opportunities. And so I have to do something with it other than act like it's owed to me, because it's not owed to me. And I'm not guaranteed to have it the next season or the next time. So I'm going to do everything I can to demonstrate my worth and value to those who invest in me, and do so while respecting others. My success, I never want my success to come at the expense of someone else. That's why I try never to be anything other than kind to everyone.
Sure. You kind of talking about trying to reach out and have as much of a reach and be impactful to people. What is one thing, you've played some high level ball. What is one thing you would say, like a tip you would give to someone that wants to get better, that wants to try and make it to the next level? What is one tip, whether it be something game wise or, character wise or whatever else? What's one thing that you think you could look at a person, just about anybody, and that advice would get them to, the next level?
So there's a lot of talented ball players all over the place, right? Some are in the conference that you've never heard of, that don't necessarily get a shot at some of the teams that make it deep into the postseason. And some of them are just ball players that don't play conference ball. They could be D-level, C-level players. I think that because there's so much talent, right? What begins to separate any athlete, I think, in any sport, as well as any person, even in the professional workspace, it's the intangibles, right? We've touched on it a couple of times throughout this conversation, which is the character, the person. I can promise you right now that Brett Helmer and Don Cooper don't care how great of a softball player you are if they have an issue with your moral code, your ethical behavior, that is just not something, because ultimately, at the end of the day, there are some people who even sit atop of Brett and Coop that are in some corporate office somewhere that look at the bottom line. They're looking at line item budgets. They're looking at things and they go, okay, I see we're spending X amount of dollars on this either this work component or this person or whatever, however you appear to the folks who count the beans.
Sure.
And if the folks like a Brett and a Coop who do this for a living have expenses and have to look at those expenses and budget how and who gets what. Well, what do you think is going to make them think about that? What is this person doing for the brand? And at the end of the day, no matter what anybody thinks, if you think the fact that you hit 800 in the season is a reason that a company is supposed to get you, and that's it. Like, if you think you don't have to do anything else but play softball real good, then you're sorely mistaken. And there are so many people right now that will judge another human being off of their numbers, right? Mm-hmm. Treating it like it's the MLB. Yeah, in the MLB, when you have multimillionaires playing baseball, if you're a jerk, but you can hit a baseball or throw a baseball or catch a baseball really, really good, people may deal with you.
Joey Votto.
Sloping softball, there are way more talented people than there are spots and opportunities, and that's the difference, man. To me, that is the difference. Obviously, practice your craft, stay consistent in productivity, but you have to add the intangibles. Otherwise, why would anyone get behind you? Why would any brand invest in you?
Sure, I wholeheartedly agree. You go, no matter where you go, there will be that one player that's like, man, they're really good, but did you hear what they did last week? It's what did he do last week? Who did he start a fight with? Who did he yell at? Which umpire did he get face to face with? It's always, you got that one guy. It's like, oh, if he could just keep his mouth shut and go play ball, he'd be, close to the top already. But people just really feel like they have a point to prove, and I don't quite understand it sometimes. And maybe that comes from not necessarily being in a position to make it to that level. Maybe some of it comes from not being enough of a jerk sometimes. I don't really know, but don't be bigger than the game. And that's one thing I always try and tell people too is, you can clown on that E player all you want. If you're the C or the B guy, go clown on those E players all you want, but don't forget you were there at one point.
Right.
I feel like that people want to just block out the fact that, like, don't laugh at this guy for getting on the internet and asking what bad is good. You did the same thing. Help the guy instead of make fun of him.
Even if they didn't, Jesse, to be honest with you, let's say there are plenty of people out there that may have played a season in D and were so electric that they went from D to the AA or majors or A after one season.
That's
and
fair.
Maybe they never asked a single question about a bat. Maybe they never cared about any of that. But you know what I'll do? I'll go back to my earlier comment where I will say, ultimately, the people buying the equipment are the same people that you want to clown on and belittle. And those are the ones that the people who I told you about earlier, who look at line items, who are counting the beans, who go, okay, well, why do we keep this player? What makes this player or this person or this unit, this work unit, in our portfolio, what makes them worth investing in? Or what makes, we're looking at line items. What's the return on investment for this person or this group?
Right.
And if it can't be justified, you think about this for a second. Do you think that Brett Helmer or Don Cooper can go into a corporate meeting with the Rawlings head shed and go, oh, well, what makes them really good or makes this person really good is because, they hit 700 and they batted in this many runs and had that many home runs.
Right.
Those people aren't looking. They would look at Coop and Brett like they're crazy, and they would go, "Well, I'm sorry, no one is buying a bat because Marieo Foster can hit it 400 plus feet, or anyone else can hit it however far you hit it. That's not why anybody's buying bats. They're buying bats because people like you and other people who put those bats in their hands and give honest feedback about them, and then." My willingness to go out and put that bat, put it in the mail to people like you, go out to the ball field and let other folks use it, or whatever it takes to put the equipment in their hands, right? A car. Most people don't buy a car without test driving it. Now, I know they got Carvana and all these other companies where you can buy cars online, but the average person doesn't just buy a car that they haven't test driven. And the bats are really no different. Most people want to hit it before they buy it.
Or if they're like me, they're going to scour the internet looking for reviews and completely overthink it before they even begin to make a decision.
Yeah, I agree.
So, what is like your favorite tournament to attend? What's the one you look forward to every single year?
So, competition wise, I've really enjoyed the Smoky. I've enjoyed the Smoky, but from a purpose driven wise, I've really enjoyed the celebrity softball tournament that I've been fortunate enough to be invited to by Air Force veteran Tim Clunn, who organizes it every year. It supports such worthy causes. The first year that it was done at Rice University, and I remember the cast of Duck Dynasty was there. Taylor Quiche,
nice.
Actor Taylor Quiche was there. I've gotten to play alongside Matthew McConaughey when Tim Clunn, when TK did the event as the Red River Rivalry, where it was during that same weekend, and he had like Mac Brown and Matthew McConaughey on the Texas side, and then like Bob Stoops and Toby Keith on the Oklahoma side, and being able to meet Toby Keith and being invited to one of his concerts. So that environment and what it represents and how it supports our first responders and our veterans, that's so from a non-competitive but meaningful purpose, that's the tournament for that side. And then for the competitive side, I really enjoy the Smoky.
Sure, yeah, and the Smokies are always fun to watch, and the celebrity softball stuff is a lot of fun too. Like, you never know who you might run into out there, and you never know who you might see out there, and the next thing you know, it's like, man, that guy actually kind of nice at it. You would never know, right? Like so many people don't know. The rapper Nelly was huge, was huge into the game for a while in playing, but people would never know until you see him out there, and you're like, man, this guy's kind of nice with it.
Right.
So I do think we're just about wrapped up. I'll give the chat here just a minute to kind of drop in some stuff here. I do see one question that I do want to clear up. I know we kind of had a brief discussion about this, but I do want you to be able to I won't say set the record straight, but just to clarify, no tantrum tech in your 2024 model, correct?
No. So I think that the only reason that became like a misconception was because, I've been our one-piece guy. And when people saw this year at the Duel, when we were doing the promotional filming for the new tantrum line, I was the one-piece tantrum guy holding the one-piece tantrum. And so I think folks started to make assumptions because some folks were sort of affectionately referring to my 2024 model bat as a senior tantrum. And because they kind of combine those words and the tantrum taking off like it did, the tantrum line taking off like it did this year, I just think some folks just was like, oh, it's the same. It's not the same. It's nowhere. It's not the same. Not the same technology, completely different bats altogether. Like I shared with someone else, my bat for next year, the green model bat that you reviewed, the biggest change is that the engineers softened up the barrel of the bat. So if you've swung any of the previous versions of my senior Empire, it has sort of a harder exterior shell. So the feedback is probably more pronounced in some cases. This one is just it's a softer barrel, which also not only does it enable it to be to feel good on the contact, but it also can hit darn near any ball.
Oh man!
Well, I mean, when we were at the senior camp, there were folks, anyone who's gone to those softball magazine camps know that they have thousands of balls out there. Well, they can't buy brand new balls every single year for camp. Right. So these are recycled balls, and these are 52 core balls, and they've been beaten to death. And to be at the Vieiro Space Coast Complex on those quads that are out there and have people hitting the ball at a senior camp over not just a 300-foot temporary fence, but off of the main fencing at a senior camp with these balls that are not in the greatest of shape. That was another sort of like test for me, a field test, if you will, watching people do that with the bat. So that softer barrel really has allowed for the bat to handle almost everything from a hard ball to a softer ball in a really good way.
Yeah, and it feels good too. That was kind of the one thing that we noticed. Like, we've hit a lot of bats, and we usually try and hit a mix of everything with them. And you'll hit some bats. It's like, man, it hits this ball well, but it feels like crap. Like that is one thing that like the 52s. The 52s can really kind of be hit or miss with some of the seniors that we've swung as far as like a feedback standpoint goes. But man, it's just like everything felt like it exploded off the barrel of it, and that's a great thing. Like I obviously you can't. If every company did the same thing, it wouldn't be any fun. But I wish more companies would do that.
Well, for right now, I'm glad that we're the one doing it.
Yeah, for real.
Right.
So from the chat here, Quentin wants to know who is your favorite celebrity to play with or against.
So, favorite celebrity playing with, I would say hands down was Matthew McConaughey, because that man is serious business. When we were doing the Oklahoma, Texas, Red River rivalry stuff, and I was playing on his team, and Coach Mac Brown was our coach. Matthew McConaughey would play short, and he would dive, bloody up his knees. Like, you're at the celebrity games and you see people smiling and laughing and, kind of not really playing hard. But there are some pictures on my social media of me and Matthew McConaughey after we won the trophy. And if you look at his face when he's talking to me, he is dead serious. Like he takes representing the University of Texas to heart. So he's someone I really, really enjoyed playing with. Playing against, for some reason, every year, and I think the mastermind, TK, Tim Klum, who is the guy who makes all of this come together, I swear, I think he puts me and Isaiah Stanback against each other. Isaiah is a former Dallas Cowboy who's a broadcaster now in the Dallas market.
Okay.
Great human being, one heck of an athlete. But I have the most fun playing against him because when we're playing in these baseball stadiums, sometimes they'll do these home run derbies, and Isaiah always likes to call me out for the home run derby. So
sure,
he's probably by far the guy I enjoy playing against the most.
That's good. It's always good to have that kind of that friendly competition, like you said. If you always end up on different teams every year, at least going into it, you're geared up. You're ready to take this guy on this year.
Right.
I'm sure that's going to be fun. So one last question here, unless somebody pops up with something in the chat here. Coming from the softball side of things, like what keeps you motivated when you feel like you might be kind of starting to slump, or you kind of feeling down, or kind of feeling burned out? What kind of keeps you going?
So I'm a praying man, and I have a lot of things that, as you very well know, I'm a career law enforcement guy. I'm currently in law enforcement, and I do that. And so there are a lot of things that and I'm here in the Washington D.C. area, and that in and of itself, carries a lot of fast-paced, high-stress stuff. And ultimately, for me, it's those moments where I get frustrated. I like to bear down, focus on what I'm doing, and try to get better because I'll work on it. But right before I allow my emotions to hijack me, I realize that this is my release. This is the thing that I do to get away from the other stuff that goes on as a part of my everyday.
Yep.
And, my wife is wonderful. She is a partner in this thing. She supports me being a part of this. If anyone follows me on social media, they know she and I are usually connected at the hip on almost every picture that's taken. And so for me, when I find myself in a slump, I tend to reset myself and think about the fundamentals. And before I get too emotionally out of whack about it, I remember that I'm out doing this thing because it gets me away from everything else. When you are struggling, the worst thing you can do is press.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to just step back, reset, and return to the fundamentals, right? because oftentimes our slumps are because we're trying too hard.
Yep. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I've been lucky enough to be in the opportunity where like I've been kind of the we'll say veteran, like voice of reason for some of these younger teams in the last few years that I have played like in the kind of the tournament environment. And it's just kind of you kind of look at these kids and remind them like, hey, look, life goes on. Like, let's not talk about, say we had an absolute meltdown. We had 3 errors and gave up, 3 or 4 runs that we weren't supposed to or anything else. Well, guess what? We can come back in and we can hash all that out. And we can talk about it all over again. And while we're up here and then you got to think, while we're up here trying to hit and get the whole dugout locked back into hitting, you're still talking about what happened on the field. Well, then you're worked up about what's happening on the field. You take it to the batter's box with you. Next thing you know, you got a chain reaction going and everybody's freaking out. This is wrong, that's wrong. This is wrong, that's wrong. Leave it on the field. Don't let it get to you. Like you said, you got to kind of reset, leave it on the field, get back in here, and let's get some momentum started again. You got to kind of remind the kids like they'll come in. Oh, the sky is falling. The sky is falling. No, it's not. Get in here, grab a bat, and go hit.
Right. And listen, we someone has to win the game, and someone has to come out on the losing end of the game, and it happens. It just for some teams it happens less than others. But ultimately, if you can walk away from something saying you did the best that you could do to help it, because it is a team sport, right? It's not basketball. You can't give it to one person and say, here you go, take over.
Right.
It's a team sport, and so as long as you're doing your part, and the best teams are the ones that have a bunch of men or women that get between those lines together or in that dugout together, and they're moving in the same direction with a unified mission, a unified message. And yes, can it get chippy? Can they have their moments? Sure, but ultimately, more often than not, what they do is they execute at a high level and they do it together.
Sure.
And that's the difference between success. Just regular success and sustained success.
Yes,
absolutely. And that also begins with the leadership, right? The leadership of who's putting that team together and what is he or she doing to ensure that those folks are leading in the right direction, right? Because that's all important too, right? You have to have the right leadership there. Because again, and that leader is the person who can take a superstar and tell that superstar, you're critical to this team and we want to see you succeed. But nothing is worse than to be a quality player who makes a team and you're on that team and you watch people maybe not perform or have bad games, but get to work it out. Whereas someone else, gets yanked at the slightest sign of challenge. And now don't get me wrong. There's a such thing as earning credibility and earning that sort of leash, right? That you get more rope when you've earned it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a good leader understands how to motivate his or her people to achieve a common goal, and they understand that the most paramount is that they always appear fair.
Sure, and you have to tell those people that like you said, they might be down or they might be on the verge of needing to make a change, and they are part of that change. You still got to remind them that you believe in them. It's I've been a part of a couple of experiences where there might be a player that's maybe struggling a little bit, and the rest of the team understands. He understands that the rest of the team recognizes that he's struggling, and they might be kind of getting frustrated. Just tell him, hey, look, don't get your head down. Stick with it. I don't care what they're saying. I don't care what they're doing. Make a play for me. Who cares about them? Make a play for me out there. Do it for you and do it for me, and keep your head up. You can't focus on what the others are doing and what the others are saying, and you got to be a little bit of like a positive reinforcement, and you'll see these guys kind of like come to life a little bit. Like, wait, these people do believe this. Somebody does believe in me. Like nobody gave up.
Right.
No, you can't turn your back on guys, especially when you feel like they might need you more. Don't get mad at them.
Right.
Go out there and kind of pick them up a little bit.
Couldn't agree more.
So last one here, and I'll let you go. I know it's getting late for you. I really appreciate you staying up and digging in with us here. So Jason Herndon wants to know, will you be at spring training in March? And he says you also need to get me to come out, but that's a whole different deal.
So, Jason, man, thanks for the question. It is my intent to be there as long as Brett Helmer has me come as he has. That is my intent to be there, barring anything else that would make it not possible. It is my intent. Spring training is moving, my understanding, away from the Space Coast complex and moving back to either Cocoa Beach or somewhere thereof. If I saw it correctly. And as to the second question about my guy, Jesse D, I agree. You should come.
It would
You
be
should
fun.
come to the spring training.
It would be fun. It would be an experience. I was kind of talking about some of that when you were getting home and getting situated. I need to kind of get out there and do stuff like that just for the experience, and whether it be, take the channel along or just do it for the personal experience in itself. That is some stuff that I would like to do.
I think you could do both, and I think it would be beneficial for you because on the imagine 3 to 4 days of just at your own pace, being able to either go to a field where they have live pitching with screens and you work, or someone's you could go to a station where there's tee work, or go to the field where they have scrimmage games that are scheduled on the hour, drills, a field where they do defensive drills. A field where they're talking about the physical training, wellness, health, and nutrition of the game, and the mechanics
I didn't realize they did that part
of what you do. All of this is what's going on there, and you go to whatever station you want at your own pace. And each camper, the lunch is provided as part of the camp package, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know, the manufacturers kind of determined, but once upon a time, every camper got a bat and a backpack as a part of their entry fee. Now, I don't know how that's changed. That's not something that I'm in charge of, right? That's a manufacturer thing. And on top of that, the bat manufacturers provide all their equipment there. So now you're getting to test drive all the different bats from the different brands. And they send what they refer to as instructors. They're the pros. We come there to help, and we're there to help in whatever way we can, whatever anybody wants. We're there to provide that help to stay as long as anyone needs and work on whatever they want. It's a great time. And then I've noticed that the campers, they fellowship, they meet, and they form their own sort of social group. And that's a great thing because they stay in touch well after they leave that camp. And, there are plenty of campers that I've also made great friendships with that I stay in touch with when they reach out to me.
Yeah, see, and that's cool. That's one thing. So Jason's also pointing out, like, the pros versus Joes is something that they do there as well, right?
Yeah, we're undefeated. Let me just throw that out there. We have never lost.
This guy.
in the history of the pros versus Joes. Now, mind you, they have to score a certain amount of points before we get a certain amount of outs. We have never, in the history of this camp, ever lost, ever. The Joes have never beaten us. And
you plan on keeping that record undefeated.
Yeah. Like they get to play on offense the whole time. We have to play defense. It's not a game. It's not like a back and forth. They get to hit, and we have to play defense.
Golly.
And we have to get a certain amount of outs before. I think they have to score 21 runs before we get 21 outs or something like that.
Man, that's a wild deal there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this year, and I don't like to rub it in. Or maybe I do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, sounds like you do.
I think they scored 2 runs one time this year. That's the most they scored. So we're undefeated in that.
Locking it down.
But who's paying attention to that? I mean, it's,
Yeah, only reason it came up is because somebody asked, right?
That's right. I would have never mentioned
it. Right. So listen, I'm gonna let you go. Thanks a ton for coming on and doing this. Like I said, I know it's late. You've been a busy guy, and it's getting late for you now. I'm going to let you go. Like I said, I can't thank you enough. You're one of the game's best ambassadors. So to be able to steal even an hour of your time to do this it means a lot to me. So I really thank you. I'm sure the channel thanks you as well. We maintain a pretty decent amount of viewers for the show here. And this will be available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you want to kind of tell some people about it or anything like that, you'll be able to find it there as well as YouTube. So with that, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for your time. If you got any closing words, feel more than free, but we definitely did plenty of talking.
Say thanks. Yeah, Justin, in short, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you being who you are, doing what you do, and inviting me to come on and have this time with you. And for the folks that provided the questions and that were just supportive, I'm thankful, man. And I'm really thankful. I'll continue to be me. And if anyone needs anything from me, feel free to reach out. But thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. Have a good night, guys.
You too, buddy. Bye-bye.
See you.